I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong, don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, wheels stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Hey, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
I'm getting nothing.
Happy Wednesday, Mo. How are you, sir?
Happy Wednesday to you, partner, and everybody out there.
Mo is getting himself all set up on the TikTok, so you can pop up onto the TikTok screen over here with me. While he is doing that, I'm going to hype up the praises of the New York Yankees. I know that JG isn't here this morning to talk about it, and that is quite okay because I can do the hyping myself. The New York Yankees pulled the trigger on Jazz Chisholm. This happened 3 days ago. And since the Yankees picked up Jazz Chisholm, all he has done is hit 4 home runs in 3 games. He had 2 home runs in his second game as a Yankee after he had a single. He went 1 for 5 in his first game with a single. He had 2 home runs in game number 2. He hit 2 home runs again last night. This man has 4 home runs in 3 games. He was a critical part of the Yankees' win last night over the division-leading Philadelphia Phillies. Let me just say I am happy that the New York Yankees have chosen to go in on Jazz Chisholm. For those of you who do not know, they did consult someone that knows Jazz pretty well. They consulted Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter was the one they consulted. Jeter said, go for it. Remember, Jeter was the one that he didn't own, but he was part of the management group with the Marlins. Jeter knows Jazz. He helped develop Jazz Chisholm there in Miami, down there in Florida. So very happy that the Yankees did what they did with Jazz, and hopefully they keep it going. The Yankees got a lot of work to do. A little disappointed that they didn't come up with something else as far as the starting pitcher goes. That was for sure disappointing as far as that is concerned. We got? Tricks. My guy Tricks down there in the chat. Tricks, I hope you have a great morning, Tricks. Hope you have a great morning.
I think I'm dying over here on TikTok.
Tricks getting wild, Mo. Tricks is getting wild over there in the TikTok world. Mo, what's going on in your TikTok world this morning, sir?
Yeah, I think I'm lost in TikTok world. I'm in Neverland.
Yep. Search up my account. Search up that pop culture phenomenon, Mo. Are you on your phone or are you on your computer? What do you want?
I'm on my phone now.
All right. Yeah, be on that phone. All you got to do is find that pop culture phenomenon, get yourself in the room, and we'll get you up here on the screen. The people are looking for you, Mo. They're like, where's Mo at? Why don't we see Mo? What is Mo doing this morning? Guys, he's making his way through the TikTok traffic. Ain't you ever been late to work? Ain't you ever been trying to get to work and you can't quite get to work on time? He's coming. He's coming. TikTok be like a traffic jam some mornings. That's all.
It is like a traffic jam.
See, he sounds like a traffic jam. He's coming. Don't worry. Good morning, Jocelyn. Good morning, C&D. How are you? Guys, I appreciate you guys coming through Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered up here by Wire to Wire Network. We got all the things going on this morning. We are streaming right now on TikTok because we are branching out, guys. We're branching out and doing be a.m. Eastern time, guys. 9 a.m. Eastern time. Make sure as you are popping through, always feel free to drop your questions, drop your comments down there in the chat. We won't always be able to get to all of them, but if we see one that catches our attention, we are definitely going to bring you up there and shout you out on the show. The show, which is live right now on Roku TV, which is also very exciting. If you are a Roku TV, Mo is here. Mo is in the building, which means Mo's about to get up here on stage, guys. I told you he was coming. Told you he was coming this morning.
It only took me forever and a day.
It only took him forever and a day, but he's here. Mo is here. I requested his camera. His camera's coming.
It's like I never miss a beat.
Never miss a beat, Mo. That's what I'm saying. All right. Mo is officially here, which means that we are officially ready to go. Mo, let's start off with this morning. We got DJ Moore get in the bag. DJ Moore got the bag in Chicago. The Chicago Bears extended DJ Moore to the tune of $110 million. Mo, this puts him solidly in the top 10 paid wide receivers in the NFL. I believe he has the number 7 spot, which is pretty good for him. But Mo, you have to ask the question, when a wide receiver enters the top 10 paid wide receivers in the league, is he a top 10 wide receiver?
He's a playmaker. There's no doubt when you look at his skill set, his athleticism, when you watch what he can do after the catch, I get what Chicago's doing. They're trying to stabilize their situation, get any kind of contract, I guess, problems out of the way. What I'm interested in is, because I think DJ Moore is a playmaker. I think he's very good. Top 10 receiver. I don't think he's there yet. But here's the question. If he gets $110 million, the crazy thing is, if you're Brandon Ayuk, I didn't want to go there, but if you're Brandon Ayuk, are you saying I got to be worth at least 90 or 100, right? Like if I'm just outside the top 10 and DJ Moore just got the bag, I feel like now the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk are even further apart.
And that's kind of the issue that you see here in the NFL, Mo, is that what is the value of the receiver to the team? And what does that mean as far as the value of the receiver in the landscape of the best receivers in the NFL? And sometimes those things don't match up. Sometimes a receiver is much more valuable to a team because there's nothing behind them. And that is your playmaker. And you don't have a solid number 2. So as a result, you got to keep the number 1 in the house, which means you might overpay him as far as the landscape of the wide receivers in the NFL go. But that doesn't mean necessarily he's worth the money as far as when you're comparing him to the guy he is above or the guy he is below. I believe he's directly above Cooper Kupp on that list and right below Davante Adams. Now, would you say DJ Moore is a step above Cooper Kupp and a step below Davante Adams? No, probably not, Mo. No. But when you're talking new, and we do this with quarterbacks all the time, when you're talking new money with quarterbacks, it's the same situation. It isn't so much of, well, we're going to pay Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence Joe Burrow money because we think they're just as good as Joe Burrow. No, like Tua said, the market is the market. And when the market is saying, if you think you got a franchise quarterback and you think he's going to be a big part of your team for the next 4, 5, 6 years, this is what the market says you pay him. And that's why you saw Trevor Lawrence get his $55 million. That's why you saw Jordan Love get his $55 million. That's why Tua got 53.1. That's why Jared Goff got 53. That's why Dak Prescott is probably going to get above 55 and reset the entire market. Because if your team thinks you are the guy, they pay you like you are the guy. And if you're the guy, Mo, You want to make the same or a little more than the previous guy because you feel like you're better. And it's no different in the wide receiver market. Now, obviously, he's not going to reset the wide receiver market in DJ Moore, but Mo, I think we know someone who is going to reset the wide receiver market. Actually, I think we know a couple of guys who are going to reset the wide receiver market.
Oh, no question.
The question is, Mo, when are they going to sign? Because the wide receiver market was already reset when Justin Jefferson signed his massive deal and became the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. So that's already happened. But now we are waiting for the other two shoes to drop. And that is CeeDee Lamb and that is Ja'Marr Chase over in Cincinnati. Now, neither of them are happy. One is doing a hold out. One is doing a hold in. We do have an update from Dallas in regards to CeeDee Lamb. Apparently, according to Stephen Jones, he openly talked about this, which is not necessarily surprising coming from the Jones family that they're just going to openly discuss business that maybe some might feel shouldn't be openly discussed, Mo. But according to Stephen Jones, things are going well in the negotiations. He describes them as upbeat and moving forward. He acknowledged that the Dallas Cowboys made a preliminary offer to CeeDee Lamb for his extension, and that his team has recently come back in the last couple of days with their own offer, their own counter offer to what Dallas had suggested. That means that things are moving forward, Mo. So it looks like CD's deal is going to get done before Ja'Marr Chase's deal gets done, which means CD is probably going to reset the market and make just a little more money than Justin Jefferson did, just in time for Ja'Marr Chase to come along and reset the market and make just a little more than CeeDee Lamb made, because we say it all the time here on the morning show, Mo. You look at the top 4 wide receivers in the league, and we all basically agree, throw a blanket over them, put them out in any order you want, and we're probably going to be okay with it. And that is the case right now. And then if you're a Miami Dolphin fan, you got to be sitting there saying, can they just give Tyreek some money? We don't need Tyreek to ask for it. We don't want Tyreek to ask for it. But if Jefferson, Lamb, and Chase are all getting new deals, can we just, give him a little, as a good grace offer? Can we just give him a little bit offer and be like, listen, we know you said you weren't going to ask for it. We know you said you wanted to retire in Miami, but we also know you just saw those 3 guys sign and get bigger deals. We can't make you the highest paid, but we can put you in the middle of them. We can give you a little bump and get you into the middle of them. Hopefully Miami takes care of Tyreek, because, Mo, as much as I love Tyreek Hill, I don't know if he's just going to sit there and be quiet. If all 3 of them get new money and he doesn't, I think he's going to say something.
I think Tyreek Hill right now is in a great spot. He's been the greatest advocate for Tua. He's been a team guy. He's saying all the right things quietly. But of course, he and his agent, they're looking at the market. They're looking at all these contracts. I don't think he's going to say a lot. I think quietly what they're doing, what other franchises are doing with their wide receivers, speaks volumes to what the Dolphins are going to do to them. And to credit the Dolphins, they're a really smart organization. I think they see the writing on the wall. I think the Dolphins are going to be ahead of this. I think Tyreek's deal gets done a lot sooner than people think. And it might even be some weird incentive-laden contract where the bar is low, like an extra $10 million if you crack 1,000 yards receiving. He's going to do that. Another $5 million if you have 10 touchdowns or more. He's going to do that. I think Tyreek Hill is going to get his deal done. The question I have is, when the Joneses say, well, we sent an offer over to CeeDee Lamb and his people responded with their counter, I wasn't in the room, but I think the counter was real simple. More than what you offered. More than that. It was written real easy. More than that. Not enough.
And like we said, I mean, I think CD's people have a pretty clear roadmap to where CD's deal needs to be. Y'all saw what Justin Jefferson made. That's the starting point. and we're not signing at the starting point. So you tell us what you're comfortable with past Justin Jefferson, and we'll tell you how we feel about it. So I'll tell you right now, Mo, if Dallas came in under Justin Jefferson, that number was never going to work.
No way. And remember this, you have, as great a player as Justin Jefferson is, Chris, project what he's going to do with a career backup or a rookie quarterback. Like I don't doubt that he's going to have a good season. I don't know if he's going to have a great season because of who's throwing him the football. But Dak is a proven commodity in the regular season. If you have CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb knows I'm the biggest playmaker on this offense, like you said, he's going to say, I want a little bit more than just Justin Jefferson. I'm not greedy, just more than what he makes. And that's the starting point, like you said. I think it's funny, this new thing, too, where he's not sitting out, he's sitting in. So it is sitting out. It's just that you're physically walking around the facility talking to people like, it's all love, it's all good, but I'm not going to do anything until I get paid.
And we've seen this in New England, Mo. I don't know if you saw this the other day, but there is a defensive player in New England, Matthew Judon, one of their standout players on the defensive side of the football. He is also doing the sit-in thing. He is showing up. He is there. He is not doing a single thing football related as far as working out, practicing, any of that stuff. He literally is just hanging around. And there was some video the other day from Patriots camp, and it looks like Judon is sitting on like not a milk crate, but some sort of box contraption, kind of just shooting the breeze with some of his teammates and coaches. And head coach Jerod Mayo walks over there, and he's talking to him for a good 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes. Don't know what they're talking about, but after a 7 or 8 minute conversation, Judon gets up and he looks mad. And he's barking stuff at Mayo. Mayo starts barking back at him. And then he leaves. Just leaves practice. This is done at that point. So that is kind of like, it's a weird situation, because if you're the head coach of a team, you're in there the dog days of summer. You're trying to figure out what this team is going to look like come September. You're trying to figure out the rookies. You're trying to do all this stuff.
Right.
And you got one of your key pieces on the defensive side of football. And remember, head coach of the New England Patriots, he's a defensive head coach. I know they drafted a bunch of offense, and we were all surprised about that. But Jerod Mayo is a defensive coach. So someone on your side of the football, someone that you need on the field, Mo, on your side of the football, is hanging out in sweats and warmups because he can't figure out his contract situation. Because he wants more money. You don't think that coaches aren't going to walk up and have a conversation like, dude, like, can we, like, what can I grease the wheels? Like, I get it. Like, you want the money, but like the unit really needs you out there today. Like, can you? And they're like, nah, I'm good. I'll do it if you get the bag. Like, you're gonna get me paid. No, right. I'm good.
I'm like, if I'm Mayo, I'm like, could you at least like do a couple of sit-ups or something? Like, act like you're part of the team, like a couple of up downs or something, like run a few laps around, like just to make me look good. You know what I mean? Like, you're really part of what's going on. Like, a guy like, remember, Jerod Mayo is a young coach. This is his first year, right? He's taking over, and he's finally putting the pieces together offensively. Like you said, New England doesn't draft offensive players. They drafted a host of young offensive talent, and they're already actually a very good defensive team. But you have one of your core pieces walking around in sweats talking about like, yeah, coach, I'm good. Anybody want a hoagie run? I'm not busy. I don't have nothing to do, and I'm not going to work up a sweat today. So yeah.
That has to drive coaches crazy with the hold-in stuff. Like, just don't be there. If you're not going to participate, just don't be there.
Go old school. Hold out. I don't want to see you walking around the facility. You know what I mean? Wearing your casual gear and stuff like that, looking all comfortable, while everybody else is breaking their necks out there trying to get that work in, getting ready for the upcoming season, and you're walking around casual and stuff. On your phone, on TikTok, doing anything but your job. Again, I know he's a young coach, but any coach that would make you pull your hairs out, that would make you lose your mind. I get trying to be patient. I get even understanding that the player wants his money, but the sit-in, I don't think the sit-in helps. I don't think it does. I actually think the sit-in is worse than the sit-out.
Unless you're a quarterback. Because I'll tell you right now, Tua sat in for a day and a half, Mo. And all reports from Dolphins training camp, that day and a half, was that the offense looks dreadful when Tua was not the quarterback. So if you're the quarterback and you know the backups aren't it, sit in and just be like, huh. Okay. Make the sound effects, make the facial expressions. Let everyone know that you see what's happening with that offense when you're not in it.
Throwing a few comments like, that's interesting.
Right.
A good thing these are practice picks. I mean,
right.
Not bad.
Mo, speaking of quarterbacks, Arthur Blank, owner of the Atlanta Falcons, he came out this week and he doubled down on the pick of Penix Jr. in the draft. He hasn't actually really commented on it, but he said that he was very surprised. He was surprised that Penix was there. The team was surprised that Penix was there. They had him coming off of the board a couple of spots before their draft pick, so he was not in their plans because they assumed he wasn't going to be there. And then when he was there, they just couldn't pass him up because they didn't think he was going to be there. He also went on to say, Mo, that the Falcons are, and you're going to like this one, they're actually very independent thinkers. Very independent thinkers is what how Arthur Blank qualified his franchise. And I guess you would have to be an independent thinker to sign Kirk Cousins to a massive 4-year deal and pay him all that money and then turn around and draft his replacement in the top 10 of the same draft class in which you just signed him in the same draft year, knowing, or at least in my opinion, most likely knowing that the main reason he joined your team is because he went to the Minnesota Vikings and said, guys, don't do it. I am not dealing with you drafting somebody in this quarterback loaded draft class. And then they're going to sit on the bench behind me. And all we're going to hear for the next couple of years is the chatter of when are they going to get the opportunity. If you're drafting my replacement in this draft class this year, I don't want to be a part of it. So he wasn't. And then he was in Atlanta when they did the exact same thing Minnesota said they were going to do. At least Minnesota said, hey, Kirk, we're probably going to draft your replacement. Just want to give you a heads up. And he was able to walk away from that. Atlanta was just like, oh, my God, we got to do it right now. Someone tell Kirk there's no time, Mo. There's no time. Put the pick in. We'll tell him after.
Right. Kirk Cousins is the last one to find out, right? Oh, by the way, Kirk, we just drafted Penix. Hey, wait a minute. When I was negotiating with you guys, did I not point out what I didn't want to deal with Minnesota? Like, if I'm Kirk, like, this is not a good faith deal, right? Like, you guys went back on your word. You kicked my back in. And then the excuse is, well, we didn't think he was going to be there. Like, I saw most of the draft boards. Yeah, he was going to be there. He was going to be there. Now, most people thought Atlanta was going to draft a defensive player.
Right.
And if you're Kirk Cousins, you're like, you bring me here to win, you got to give me more tools to win. The defense, a better defense, helps me out in the bigger picture. You went ahead and drafted the guy that's going to be waiting behind me to get rid of me, right? Like, every time Kirk Cousins has a sub-art game, it's when is Penix going to get in because he looks really good in practice. Kirk stepped away from what was going to happen in Minnesota and ended up stepping right into that in Atlanta. And they want to go, but we gave you all this money, so yeah,
right.
You know, we did give you all that money, so you're good.
Literally, with the exception of maybe punter, I think that's the only other position Atlanta could have drafted that would have been less or equally as useless as drafting Penix for this season.
How's it gonna help them? Right.
Like anything else they could have drafted, lineman, tight end, running back, corner, defensive lineman, safety, I don't care. Anything else they would have drafted, Mo, you could have been like, oh, that's going to plug a hole this season. Man, I think they have some bigger deficiencies, but that will plug a hole. We'll be good to go there. Right. No, they literally found the one thing to do in the first round that does nothing for the team this season. So I get it. I get why Kirk was a little upset. Keeping up with the quarterback conversation, Aaron Rodgers has made the news twice this week. The first time he made the news is because he ripped the Jets apart after what he called an absolutely abysmal practice. I do love fiery Aaron. We've missed fiery Aaron because of the injury. So I do love fiery Aaron. So I'm glad that he's back in the building. But more importantly, if you're a New York Jets fan, Mo, Aaron Rodgers brought some hope to the Jets faithful when he said yesterday that he thinks he still has 2 great years left in him. And if that's the case, it does not withstand reason to think that he is open to coming back to the Jets next season. And this will turn into his first because of the injury. And next year will be his second, and he will have fulfilled his 2-year obligation to the New York Jets, which is what they thought they were getting when he first came into town. Mo, when you look at that, are you buying into it? Are you buying in that Aaron thinks he still has 2 great years? Or if he does still have 2 great years, are they both going to be with the Jets?
I'm buying into that he's totally committed to the Jets for this season. I'm buying into that they're totally committed to him. Like, all the moves they've made said we're trying to win the Super Bowl right now. If the New York Jets go to an AFC title game and they come up short, that might be different. Sure, Aaron Rodgers might be like, we were right there. Maybe you lose to Mahomes, who doesn't? We were right there, and we're going to be bringing back pretty much the same team, and we're just as good. That might happen. But what if the New York Jets, with all this hype, with all the talent they have on both sides of the ball, what if they barely make the playoffs? What if they get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs? I don't know if Aaron Rodgers signs up to come back to that, because if they're not as good as projected, there's going to be drama, obviously. And in New York, it's going to be elevated. And with Aaron Rodgers, Chris, we love it. He's not going to hold his tongue, right? He's going to be like, well, first of all, I'm not the offensive coordinator. It's my guy over here. So I didn't design this offense. I'm the reason it's as good as it is now. I just think that the expectations for Jets fans are so high. And I get it. I get it. You've got a top 3 defense. Your offense looks like it could be a top 5 offense on paper. But if all that doesn't come to fruition, anything short of a trip to the AFC title game, to me, is a failed year.
And it's one of those things where, again, I think the Jets have done a really good job. I don't say this a lot, but I think the Jets have done a really good job of putting the required pieces around Aaron. They have upgraded his offensive weapons. They have upgraded the offensive line. They didn't have many holes on the defense, but they added depth on the defensive side. So if they do have an injury or something weird does happen on the defensive side of the football, it can be next man up. And they have people who are going to come up next that they are confident can plug and play, and you're not going to have a huge gap on the defensive side. They've done all those things. Now, here are some things that Aaron Rodgers can't control. You play in the same division with the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Both of those teams have question marks for sure. Can Tua win games late in the season? Can Tua win a playoff game? Can Josh Allen put together a consistent season at quarterback play? And what is he going to look like without a number 1 wide receiver? These are all things that you have to ask, but you also have to look at it and say, where are these 3 teams, the Jets, the Bills, and the Dolphins, if they all hit their ceiling this season? If they all hit their ceiling and they're all playing to the biggest level we think they can play to, you can make an argument that all 3 of these teams could be in the AFC Championship game against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Agreed.
And that's where things get dicey with Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, because, Mo, I can see a situation where these 3 teams beat up on each other, one of them doesn't make the playoffs, and it could come down to a tiebreaker. You could have a situation where they all end up with 10 wins or 11 wins at the end of the season, and one just doesn't have the juice to get to the wild card. And tiebreakers are what are going to decide that. So, especially if you're talking 10 wins, if these three teams go 10-7 and they're all beating up on each other, and some of their other losses are to the powerhouses in the AFC, the Chiefs,
Right.
the Ravens, the Bengals. You look at that and you go, man, okay, they all look great at one point this season, but one of them didn't make it. Is that the end of the world for Miami or Buffalo or the Jets? No. But you look at it, if you're Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and you say, is he really going to come back to a team that missed the playoffs?
Exactly.
I don't know, Mo. I don't know if he wants to do that. Now, at the same time, I don't know what other openings would be out there. Again, I'm going to say this, and I've never said this before because I really thought this was going to be Aaron Rodgers' last year in the league. But if he's going to stick around for one more season, and he wants to test those free agent waters, Mo, there might be a team that's about to let their franchise quarterback walk away. And I've said before, I think he's going to end up with the New York Jets. Could you not see Jerry Jones pulling the trigger on a one-year deal to bring in Aaron Rodgers because he thinks that's the differential to get them to a Super Bowl? If the Dak stuff falls apart and they can't get Dak signed and Dak walks away at the end of the year and Aaron has a great season with the Jets, but they miss the playoffs due to tiebreakers or whatever it is, but he looks like Aaron Rodgers and he was consistent and he stayed healthy, and Aaron's like, I'm not going. And you know how Aaron is. Aaron can get a little finicky. He can get a little persnickety. Maybe down the stretch, a couple of things didn't go their way on the defensive side of the football, or there were a couple of drop passes.
Oh, you can see it.
He started getting into it with coaches a little bit. He didn't like Robert Saleh's gruffness with him when he felt he was doing his part, but the other people on the team weren't doing their part. And now Aaron's done. He's not coming back to New York, but he still wants to play another year. Aaron Rodgers and CeeDee Lamb? Oh, okay. Okay. Aaron Rodgers with a chance. And think about this, because Aaron also has that little thing called an ego. Aaron Rodgers being the guy to come in 1 year, one and done, and take the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, back to a Super Bowl? Mo, that man's ego has no bounds. If that laid itself out for him, it would be the same as Brady going to Tampa. Now, Tampa Bay is not America's team.
Oh, it'd be bigger.
He went to the Bucs and he brought a team that's been doing nothing for a long time, and he brought them a championship.
It would be bigger. It would be massive, like you said. And the only ego bigger than Aaron Rodgers is Jerry Jones.
Right.
But if you're right, if he has a great year and Aaron Rodgers looks like Aaron Rodgers, looks like MVP Aaron Rodgers, and for whatever reason, just because the division is so competitive, they come up short. And maybe he and Robert Saleh, because I can see this getting to a shouting match. Well, if your defense had done a little bit more, or whatever the case may be, and Aaron is frustrated and he wants out, Jerry Jones, let's say Dak has a similar season to last year, very close. But I think Jerry Jones in his head is going to say, Aaron Rodgers is still better than Dak. The difference is the intangibles. If we can get Aaron Rodgers in here, is it impossible? If Aaron Rodgers plays for the Dallas Cowboys and he takes the Dallas Cowboys to a Super Bowl and he wins it, he's immortalized. Now, granted, we both agree if he wins it with New York, he's immortalized times 10 because the Jets, the last time they won it, color TVs was new. So yeah, but to do it with Dallas, because say what you want about Dallas, they're still one of the prominent teams in the NFL by far. That star with Aaron Rodgers, if he can lead them there, immortalized. They would say crazy stuff like greatest quarterback in Cowboys history. Let us to a Super Bowl.
Aaron Rodgers.
It's not even close. Aaron Rodgers Done deal. He would be in that Ring of Honor the same year they won the Super Bowl. Ring of Honor automatically. Like, that's how big it would be. And it's not impossible. It's not impossible. The Jets can both have a good year, Chris, win 10 games, but at the same time be a disappointment if, for whatever reason, they don't make the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers is like, I'm not signing up for that because Josh Allen isn't going away. Tua isn't going away. When you look at it, the AFC East with their quarterback situations, other than the Patriots, and they may have their guy, is strong, and their quarterbacks are young. They're not going anywhere. And Mahomes isn't going anywhere. And Lamar, it's a lot easier for whatever reason if you look at the top side of the NFC quarterbacks versus the AFC quarterbacks. So I think Aaron thinks about all those things. And one more thing I like to add, if he did leave and he went to Dallas, you don't think he wouldn't like to play those Packers? I think so. I think he'd be looking for some get back.
You don't think that his new head coach, Mike McCarthy?
The two of them together, like let's get them. Let's get, like, I'm just saying. Now we're reaching way ahead in the what if category.
We are.
We
can do
ahead.
that sometimes. We can do that here sometimes.
This is just for fun, everybody out there. But knowing Aaron Rodgers, like I said, he's on a different timetable than Tua and Josh Allen. We're talking about a 40-year-old quarterback, as great as he is. I don't think he wants to, if they lose, if they come up short, I don't know. I know he's saying all the right things now, but he's saying that before he goes through this season. How he fit, if they're anything but in the playoffs competing for an AFC title, I think anything's possible.
And let's not forget, and you brought up a great point, Mo, the NFC, you take Dak out of it, who's the best quarterback in the NFC? Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford. I mean, we named two.
Are we going Goff?
Jared Goff.
On talent, I would go on talent. I'm arm talent. I'm going Stafford. Yeah. I am. I mean, I'm going Stafford. The only thing with Stafford is it's kind of like the Tua thing. It's, can he hold up, right? But if Stafford is on his feet, the scariest team in the Niners division to me is the Rams.
So you're talking Goff, Stafford, Hurts. That sounds a little easier than Mahomes, Jackson, Burrow, Allen, and the list goes on and on in the AFC.
Right.
So, and let's not forget, Brady did the same thing. He went to not only a weaker conference, he went to a much weaker division. Now, I'm not saying that the NFC East is as bad as the NFC South, but you do got Daniel Jones in there. You do have the Washington Commanders in there. That's looking a lot better than facing Buffalo and Miami twice. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know. We got a long way to go, Mo. But I'm just saying, if they miss the playoffs, I called it here. Okay,
you called it, and look, it's fun to play the what if game.
Let's talk a little bit about running backs, Mo. We talked about wide receivers yesterday with Madden. Well, Madden has also released their running back list. Top 10 running backs according to Madden 25. Number 10 is Isaiah Pacheco with the Kansas City Chiefs. He is coming in at an 87. That is setting the bar, Mo. That's setting the bar. Let's talk about number 9, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is an 88. So Pacheco is 10. Aaron Jones is 9. Number 8 on that list is Kenneth Walker III with Seattle. Great rookie season. He had some injuries last season. I like him a lot, though. Number 7 is Josh Jacobs, 89 overall. I think Josh Jacobs is a very undervalued running back in this league, and I think part of that was he just played with the Raiders. And it's tough to get shine. It's tough to get shine when you're part of the Raiders. Number 6, the first 90 in the game, Travis Etienne Jr. with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mo, I love Travis Etienne. I love his skill set. He is a runner. He can catch out of the backfield. I believe he can even throw the football a little bit. I think he had a couple of gadget plays last season where he threw the rock around. I love Travis Etienne. Mo, how do you feel so far, 10 through 6?
I think they're properly ranked. I'm a big fan of Etienne as well because his speed, his ability to make people miss, not to mention the threat out of the backfield, he's an all-around back. I would argue that he's underused. I really think you want to take some pressure off of Sunshine, highlight ETN more in that offense.
Number 5 is, I think, where you're going to have the first awkward facial expression. Number 5 is Joe Mixon.
What?
Joe? Yeah.
Are we talking about Joe Mixon, formerly of the Cincinnati Bengals?
That's the one. That Joe Mixon.
Let me put it out there. Joe Mixon's a really good football player. I want to be square on that. A good football player, but he should be behind everybody on that list.
That was on that list.
Right. To be fair, I'm just being real. Good all around player, but I don't think he's better than the backs you just named.
He's number 5, 91 overall. 92 overall is Saquon Barkley, number 4 in the game. You might have an issue with this one too. Saquon was 92 overall. 94 overall, number 3 in the game, Derrick Henry.
Wow. I think that's high, not because he hasn't been a great running back, but I use the term he has been a great running back. When you hit the other side of 30 as a running back, usually it's when you start to slow down. You saw signs last year. I think he missed some games. He still ended up with 900 yards. I don't know what Derrick Henry is going to look like in an RPO backfield. I don't either. Because I don't think he's an RPO running back. Most RPO running backs, the really good ones, they're quick. They're quick at the point of attack, and they can make people miss. He's an I-back. He's a 9 yards in the backfield, one cut attack running back. I think he's ranked too high in Madden this year. I'm not saying he shouldn't be top 10, but I think he's ranked too high.
Number 2, Nick Chubb, 96 overall, and number 1, 99 overall. That 99 club, Christian McCaffrey. I have no issue with either of those. I think Saquon should be number 3. I don't mind if Derrick Henry is somewhere around like the 6-7 range. I don't think Joe Mixon should be in the top 10 personally.
I'm with you. I think Mixon should be out. I think Henry should be a little further. I think Saquon has a skill set, and I've told people that aligns with what C-Mac can do. I'm not saying he's as good as C-Mac, because the question with Saquon is about his durability. But with the Eagles, with the quarterback that he has, the offensive line he has, I think Saquon's set up to have his career year.
Isn't it interesting, Mo? And I hope that I'm having the same conversation in 2 years about Tua that I'm going to have with you right now. Isn't it interesting that Christian McCaffrey goes over to the San Francisco 49ers and he was damaged goods? He was a guy who couldn't stay healthy, all the promise in the world, but can never just keep himself on the field. We're good. We're good. We're good in San Francisco, Mo. Like, the guy doesn't get really hurt anymore. It's interesting how that was literally his label in Carolina. Can't stay healthy. All these injuries, lower body injuries. He's going to be viewed as just one of those great talents that just never hit his ceiling here in the NFL. And then he goes to the 49ers and the guy just doesn't miss games anymore. It's interesting the turnaround he has had with the fortune of his health. And a lot of it is fortune, right? A lot of it is just landing the right way, not having someone fall over you when you weren't expecting. Like, a lot of it is a luck aspect to it. But for as much as he was injured early in his career in Carolina, to see him now the last couple of seasons in San Francisco just not have to worry about those injury bugs, it's great for him.
It is, but I want to remind people, in Carolina, he was almost the entire offense. He was everything.
True. He was ran to the ground.
Right. And in San Francisco, while he is a key cog, he doesn't carry the ball 30, 35 times a game. He doesn't do that. They find different interesting ways to get him in space, but I think he carries the ball between 20, 25 times a game not very often. They just find different ways to get him the football. But I think that in that offense, because you have a Debo and Ayuk and Kittles, that Shanahan spreads it out. Maybe C-Mac is what we start with, but he's not the only threat. And I think that takes a lot of pressure off him in San Francisco. You're right. Health is fortune and luck sometimes, but it doesn't hurt that the organization you're with sets you up for success.
Well, I want to talk about the playoff teams from the NFL last season. We know that year over year, every year when we go into a new season in the NFL, when we take a look at the playoff picture, we know that a certain amount of teams do not make the playoffs year over year. It happens, and it has happened for a long time now. So looking at the playoff teams from last year, I'm going to pull that up right now. So we have it in front of us. So last year, you're looking at the Niners, the Buccaneers, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Eagles, the Rams, and the Packers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the 7 teams from the NFC. Usually, Mo, it's anywhere between 4 and 6. We've had a couple years the past, 20 years where it's been as many as 7. But let's go with the low side. Let's go with 4. Let's take 2 teams from each conference who made the playoffs last year, who we think are not going to make the playoffs this year. So I'll give you the NFC teams one more time, all 7, and you're going to tell me which 2 are not going to make the playoffs this year. You had the Niners, the Bucks, the Cowboys, and the Lions. Those were your division winners. And then you had the Eagles, the Rams, and the Packers. Who's the first one between those 7? Because let's look at it. The Packers, they think they have the best quarterback in the NFL right now. They have division aspirations. The Rams, I think, are going to be one of the best teams in the NFL this season. The Eagles think they can win their division. The Lions think they can win their division. The Cowboys think they can win their division. The Buccaneers think they can win their division. And the Niners might be the best overall team in the NFL. How are 2 of those teams not going to the playoffs, Mo?
I think the team that's most vulnerable off the top of my head is going to be the Buccaneers. Because I think that division is going to play out close to the vest like it did last year. Baker had a terrific year. The weird thing about this is I think Baker could have an even better year than last year, but their record won't show it. Because I think that division is going to be tighter than most people think. So I think the Buccaneers are definitely the most vulnerable of those teams you named. And I'm going to go outside the box. I think another team that won't make the playoffs, I'm going to go the Cowboys.
Ooh, Dallas Nation. Now, is it because just they have a good season, they just don't get there, or are they gonna have a bad year?
I think they're gonna be so prominent and so dependent on the passing game because they have no run game, and they have
they got Zeke.
Yeah, so they don't have a run game.
Got it.
No, I'm not knocking. Look, Zeke's been a great player, but he's been a great player. He's probably still a good player, but is he the kind of back that's going to give you a 12 or 1,300 yards? If he has one of those in him, that's amazing, and he'll be comeback player of the year in a landslide. But what a lot of people don't talk about is
no, he wasn't hurt last year, so he won't be comeback player of the year.
That's right. We did have that conversation.
Let's not forget, you got to be hurt. Like, no, so he can't win that. That's going to go to either Aaron Rodgers or Joe Burrow. Pencil it in. Right. Whichever one has the better season.
Agreed. But what I'm saying is also, don't forget, their offensive line is not what it's been in past years. So sure. I think they're going to struggle to run the football. They're going to struggle to protect Dak Prescott. I just think that their defense might have a better season, but the offense won't align with the defense. I think Dallas is going to struggle, and I think they're going to barely miss the playoffs.
So I agree with you on the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers are in the most vulnerable spot just because I think the division is going to be better. And also, I don't know what they're going to do in the playoffs, but I can't look past Kirk Cousins. I think he might have his best statistical regular season of his career. I think he is going to go into this season, and at the midway point of the season, if you're mentioning Kirk Cousins' name, he wants you to be mentioning it with MVP. That's what I think he wants to be synonymous with his name halfway through the season. And when the season ends, that should wrap up any conversation of Michael Penix Jr. becoming the starter anytime soon in Atlanta. And the best way he can do that is to have himself an MVP caliber season, which means the Buccaneers don't win the division. And if the Buccaneers don't win the division, I don't see any other team in that division getting into the playoffs. I think you need to win the division to get in. I don't see a second team coming from that division. Agreed. So for that reason, I think the Bucs are probably going to miss out. I can still see them winning 9 or 10 games.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to win. I don't think they're going to get to the wild card. The other team, I'm not going to go Dallas. I am going to go with the Green Bay Packers. I do not believe in Jordan Love. I do believe in Joe Hendry, but I do not believe in Jordan Love. I think he is going to have an up and down season, just like he had an up and down season this year. I think the Lions are the best team in that division. I think they're going to win the division easily. I think the Bears are going to be a little bit better. The Vikings are going to be a train wreck, so I give no credit to the Minnesota Vikings. But remember, we saw a Jordan Love-led Packers team late in the season last year, not early while he was still figuring stuff out. We're talking late in the season, marching toward a playoff run, drop a game to Tommy Cutlets over there in New York. Okay. I'm just saying. And we saw him up and down in a Minnesota Vikings game that, yes, they won, but he was outplayed in by a third-string quarterback. It might have been their fourth-string quarterback at that time because Minnesota went through 3 or 4 of them last year. He won a game where he was outplayed by a quarterback that he should not have been outplayed by. I don't think that's going to magically get better for Jordan Love this season. I think he is a slightly above average quarterback in this league. And I think you're going to see them win 9 games. And I think that's not going to be enough to get them to the playoffs. Let's look at the AFC. You have the Chiefs, the Bills, the Jaguars, the Browns, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Texans, and the Steelers. Give me 2.
I don't think the Browns make it. The way you feel about Jordan Love, I feel about their quarterback situation. I'm just not. I get what he was in the past. I feel like he's the reason they don't make the playoffs. Is that fair? Like everything's in place for them to be one of the best teams in the AFC, even in that division. And yet, I think their lack of a true quarterback, a playmaker, a leader is going to be the reason the Browns don't make the playoffs.
And what's your other one?
Give me the other teams again. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Houston, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Miami, Buffalo, and Kansas City.
Yeah, it's easy. Pittsburgh's not going to make the. I you know that line. If you got a bunch of quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback.
It's true. It's true.
You don't have a quarterback, and I don't even think they have that many weapons. I think they have a really good receiver in Pickens. I think their running game is solid, but they would need an elite season from Russell Wilson, or if he can't hold on to the job. But I just feel like when you look at Pittsburgh top to bottom, they're the most fragile team that made the playoffs last year. If you know what I mean, like you said it, Chris, it was smoke and mirrors. We don't know how they did it. They had a horrible offense, but they did it through defense and special teams. Like they found a way to win games. They're going to need better than that this season. I think that division is better than it was last year. Even though I don't think Cleveland's going to make the playoffs, I think they'll be competitive. They're going to win some games. I just feel that those two teams, I don't think either one of them are going to get good enough quarterback play to make the playoffs.
I actually think 3 of these teams are not going to make the playoffs. The 2 that you mentioned, the Browns and the Steelers. And I don't think the Buffalo Bills make the playoffs either. I think Buffalo is the odd team out in the AFC East. I think that the Dolphins and the Jets battle out for the division. One of them wins it. One of them takes the wild card. I do think that the Bengals are getting – so I think the Jets are getting into the playoffs. I think the Bengals are getting into the playoffs. And I don't have the divisions in front of me, but someone else is. That's not one of those other teams that we just knocked out. Buffalo, I don't think they can overcome it. I think the Jets have too much on the offensive side. They have one of the best defenses in the league. I think Miami has, again, too much on the offensive side. Miami doesn't have a defense anywhere near the New York Jets defense, but also neither does Buffalo. Buffalo lost a lot on the defensive side, and they didn't replace it. And I know that Buffalo fans are saying, well, we drafted this kid number 1 in the draft. He's looked great. And I understand all of that. And I know that you can show me the tape of the last 10 years, Mo, and you have receivers that are drafted high in the draft, and they just come on. They're impact players right away. I get that. But for me, it's not about the one wide receiver. It's about the rest of your wide receiver room, which I don't think is impressive. And for me, it's about the roller coaster ride that is Josh Allen. I know that at his peak, he is Superman. He is a top 3 quarterback, arguably a top 2 quarterback in the league. But you know who doesn't have the valleys that he has? Patrick Mahomes. You know who doesn't have the valleys when healthy that Josh Allen has? Joe Burrow. So when you're telling me that at his best, Josh Allen is just as good as Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, but at his worst, he's probably middle of the pack or lower. I feel there's too much there. There's too much. And too often we see him slide down and be the Josh Allen where the commentary for the Buffalo Bills shouldn't be, they got to let Josh run more so he can get a feel for the game.
Right.
They got to let Josh run a little more so he can hit someone in the chest and get himself involved. No. I don't want Josh Allen hitting linebackers in the chest so he can feel like he's a part of the game and he's woken up. I want Josh Allen out there using his cannon for an arm and putting the team on his back when he needs to, not feeling like he's not involved enough because he's not running around and running people over. And when that's the narrative for the past 2 or 3 years in Buffalo, Mo, I don't think, unless they bring back Brian Daboll, which newsflash, he's not coming back this season. He might come back next season when the New York Giants fire him because the Giants go 2-15 or whatever they're going to go this season. But he's not there this season. So I don't know who their offensive coordinator is. I don't think it matters because I don't think any of them can rein in Josh Allen. And by the way, their head coach has also proven he can't rein in Josh Allen when Josh Allen gets a little wonky. So I think it's going to be an up and down year. And I think they're going to be the 9-win team in the AFC East that doesn't make it.
You might be right. I think Buffalo is going to feature the run game more this season. I don't know if that's going to be
Josh
enough.
Allen.
Well, I don't think that's the plan, but you might be very well right. He'll end up being their leading rusher, which he shouldn't be because they have a terrific running back. But yeah, look, I look at Josh Allen, and like you said, the highs are the highest of the high, and the lows are incredibly low. To me, when I look at him, he's what Brett Favre would be if Brett Favre was a freakish athlete. He'd be Josh Allen. Yes. He would be Josh Allen. That's who he is. He's a better athletic version of Brett Favre.
And just as frustrating. As frustrating as Brett Favre is. And that's what you see. And Mo, when it comes to Josh Allen, it's usually 2 or 3 plays a game. 2 or 3 plays a game where he throws a ball off his back foot across his body, and it's like a pop fly in center field in a baseball game, and it's the safety just waiting for it, or it's 2 safeties going up, and the question is, are they going to let each other catch the ball, or is it going to hit the ground because they got in each other's way? Like, he does it every single game, and unfortunately for him, it usually comes in critical moments. It comes when the game is close, because we had this conversation last season. When the Buffalo Bills blow out people, Josh Allen has great numbers. But when the Buffalo Bills play close games, it starts to become an issue. And Mo, I tell people all the time, in my opinion, it's not because Josh Allen's a different quarterback when the game is close. I think Josh Allen's the same quarterback all the time. But when you're up by 21 and he throws a ball across his body and it's tipped by the safety and not falls to the ground, you don't think twice because you're up by 21. When he does it on 3rd and 8 and you're down by 2 with 8 minutes to play in the 4th quarter, you're like, what are you doing? Why are you throwing that ball there? Now it matters more. And that's my issue with Josh. He doesn't change his style of play when the game becomes closer and he needs to be less free with the football. And some people like that about him. Some people like the fact that he hangs it out there every play. Brett Favre did that too. If you just watched Brett Favre play, and you know this, Mo, you would have no idea what the score is. You would have no idea if he's up by 20 or down by 20 because Brett Favre played football the same way every down. He played it like this was the end of the game, 2 minutes to go. We got to score now. Balls to the wall, force the ball in there. You never knew what the score was when Brett Favre played because he just let it all hang out. And I think, like you said, Josh is very similar to that. And when you play close games, it has hurt them a lot in his career. So unless they find a way to tighten him up with that, I think he's going to struggle this year.
No, I agree. I agree completely. I think that without a true number one receiver, the argument people were making is he's going to be free to spread the ball around because he won't have that number one always in his ear. I would argue not having that number one, somebody that can beat one-on-one coverage, is going to make him force balls that are not that to receivers that are not open. I think he's going to, and I think you're right. He will run more. He will get frustrated. He will run more. And when he runs, I don't care how big and strong he is, he's a quarterback. And if he takes too many hits, he might miss a few games. And I don't think they can afford that.
Mo, great show here on a Wednesday. Take us to the end, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at the Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you guys.
Hey, make sure you're back here, same time, same place tomorrow. We're going to continue following everything that's happening at NFL training camp. I'm going to continue following what Jazz Chisholm is doing with the New York Yankees. JG might be here as well to break down everything from the trading deadline in Major League Baseball. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports.